Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
We've been talking a lot about politics over the course of the last few episodes here at Fronteras, A Changing America. We have to talk about not only the changes that we're experiencing on a national scale, but also how it begins with us in our own local community. And we have to actually begin to reflect on some of the things that are going on and begin to analyze as to where we go from here. I can think of no better way to do something like this than to actually invite colleagues and familiar faces here at KRWG to talk a little bit in a reporters roundtable of sorts about the big looming story that has been hanging over our heads for now quite some time. The whole story about corruption in the community, with recent stories about Sunland Park, the mayor not being able to take office, the FBI scandals in El Paso, as well as the whole situation with a county commissioner, a sitting county commissioner in El Paso County, being arrested under the allegations of drug distribution, along with just a series of events that really place a cloud over our community. I think it's a big issue. And joining us here today, we have very familiar faces who need no introduction here at KRWG for our Reporters Roundtable. Is it as frustrating, guys, as it is for someone like myself that comes in and kind of does a little bit of commentary at Fronteras from the reporters' end of thing and the side of interviewing some of these personalities? The story, is it as frustrating as it is to me? I'm not sure. Your thoughts on the issue. Fred, you interview people on a regular basis on newsmakers.
All the time. And I mean, if you're talking specifically about politicians, and I know Monica can talk about this as well, dealing especially when you're talking about corruption and allegations of any kind that don't look favorable upon the individual, you often don't get straight answers. And so, of course, that is frustrating. It's frustrating for the viewers and the listeners as well. But at the same time, I think it's one of our most important responsibilities that we've got to ask those questions. The thing that's frustrating for me as a viewer very often is watching coverage of political issues and campaigns where the questions aren't even asked. I mean, that is very difficult, but it really emphasizes the importance of a role of public media and the kind of work like what Monica is doing, where she has time to work on in-depth journalism, asking the questions that need to be asked.
Monica, tell me, you're reporting on this on a daily basis.
Correct.
Easy, hard?
No, certainly. It's one of the most difficult parts of my jobs, especially when it comes to stories that are related to corruption and allegations of wrongdoing by public officials. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was placed in I had to make a decision. The two stories broke at the same time. One having to do with the county commissioner in El Paso, and the other having to do with the mayoral candidates in Sunland Park. And so, as a reporter covering this entire region, I'm posed with the question, where do I cover? Where do I go? So I ended up choosing to cover the story on the county commissioner in a small town on the outskirts of El Paso called Socorro, Texas, which is where this county commissioner is from. And so getting people to talk to you when you're out on the streets, it's a very, very delicate subject because it is a small town and because there are so many interconnections within that town of family members or businesses. It's difficult to get people to come up and say, yeah, well, I'll speak openly to you about how I feel or what I know or what I've seen. I think I spoke to more people off the record than I did on the record.
You know, this off the record, on the record stuff, and I have certainly experienced occasions where I invite folks to Fronteras and they decline. They will tell me whatever they'd like to say on the telephone or in person, but they'll decline an invitation to be on camera. do you think that it creates like a lack of information for our community and misinforms our community in many ways, just the fact that it's such a struggle?
Well, certainly. I think people. It's a matter of confidence and integrity. I think if someone someone has their facts straight, has done the research, I think it takes a lot of courage to come out and speak publicly, because there might be repercussions for that person personally. And in light of that, the fact that they would be willing to come up and speak publicly, I think, again, shows a great deal of courage and would be increasingly, incredibly beneficial for the community. But there aren't a lot of people willing to step up.
Fred, you and I share the opportunity to have conversations with folks. You do it on newsmakers, more specifically on a one-on-one basis. Do you find it hard to get answers to questions that are really important that the politicians or people involved may not really want to answer? I mean,
very frequently, and you know, it's one of the reasons why at this station, in addition to those one-on-one interviews, one of the things that we're committed to doing is also giving the opportunity for folks in the public to directly ask questions. So we have hosted town halls here. We've opened up forums when it's particularly involving a political campaign to a variety of different reporters. I was very pleased that this past fall we were able to have 2 forums with the Las Cruces mayoral race and one 90-minute forum with the Las Cruces City Council races. So this gave an opportunity for a lot of folks to see answers to specific questions on issues from a variety of reporters, not just that one-on-one aspect. So important. I mean, I don't know how the two of you feel, but I think if you run for public office, this is part of your responsibility in the position to do interviews with newspapers, with radio stations, with television stations, to give your opinion on issues. Without it, how can the public make an informed choice?
Right, no, without a doubt, that's absolutely the case. They do have a responsibility, and we have a responsibility, like you said earlier, to ask those questions.
It's amazing to me how some of that responsibility, though, is sometimes shirked. I mean, I was talking to a candidate very recently about the fact that she has shown up at every major debate forum, and none of her opponents have been there. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's really just this lack of a wanting to inform the public. They rather just kind of gloss it over. And that's what makes the role that we're playing here, I believe, even that much more important. So,
yeah, well, I think that's also the case that creates that lack of public accountability, creates a situation where, like in Sunland Park, you can have all kinds of wrongdoing potentially going on, but because nobody is doing the job of a watchdog, nobody is patrolling, that stuff just allows to grow and build upon itself and escalate to the point where you can't ignore it, and once you start paying attention, you start uncovering all sorts of levels of wrongdoing.
It's kind of, and I think we should definitely get into that, since we're talking about the whole fact of the matter that there's a lack of information out there. I think there's very big looming stories over in our community. 2 of them are a little older, the whole recall situation of mayoral and city council officials in El Paso. There's also the FBI scandal that has kind of embroiled El Paso for several years now. That continues to, I mean, very recently, former County Judge Anthony Cobos was arrested. You know, he's now out on bond or something like that, I believe. Then there's also the County Judge Dolores Briones was also pled guilty already to certain allegations she's facing. There are these things, but the 2 most recent ones, since you've been the person there, I'd like to kind of go over them. The situation in Sunland Park with the mayor and the fact that a community has voted for someone who will essentially, from what things are looking like, cannot do anything, can't even take the oath of office.
Right. So it's
funny. Can you take us through that?
Sure. It's funny looking at a comic in in the Albuquerque Journal that had a Sunland Park voter looking at the ballot, and the choices were the guy that's in jail, the guy that got the lap dance, or the guy with the same name as the lap dance guy but not related to him. So it really, I mean, it's comical, but it's embarrassing at the same time. So you had the election last week. People thought that it might have been that it might be delayed, but no, it went on as scheduled, and that was basically the choices that people had. Both two mayoral candidates were involved in this scandal regarding, one of them was the receiver of this lap dance that was leaked to media, and that the other mayoral candidate is charged with using the tape as extortion to get him to drop out of the race. And wow. Then the district attorney's office is also investigating allegations of voter fraud, which is a huge concern in that she's saying that there have been people, residents of El Paso, that were encouraged and actually signed up and voted in the Sunland Park election. And so that brings up a broader question, right? Is it just this election that this has happened, where there has been voting across state lines, or is this something that has been ongoing? And it's especially a concern since you've got the bigger presidential election later on this year. So that's what, as I understand, the DA's office is currently investigating, among all the other things.
And I mean, how embarrassing is this for this to happen? You're mentioning in particular the El Paso folks saying that they possibly voted in this election. How embarrassing is this for this to happen amidst the scandal, amidst news that a dog was registered to vote in the state of New Mexico? I mean, it is absolutely an issue for not just Sunland Park and this region, but the entire state. And I think that's what the Albuquerque Journal hit on in their editorial this week. They asked the mayor-elect to resign, saying that this has created, quote, a wholesale mocking of the state. And in discussing the mayor-elect, Daniel Salinas, and one of his opponents, the Journal says, quote, throw in that the two of you were running to replace a mayor who admitted he was drunk when he signed 9 city contracts and has exposed taxpayers to $1 million lawsuit, and it's no surprise folks still think this is the Wild West, end quote. So that's really, in the view of the Albuquerque Journal, from that editorial that was in the paper this week, getting to that larger issue of trust in government and the image of the state of New Mexico.
Your interviews with some of the folks that the opinion page is writing about now, on difficult interviews, Monica, to get information out, to describe the process of interviewing some of these people that Fred is now saying have been commented about in these major publications. Well,
I mean, basically, it's a matter of just of confrontation, of doing everything you can to give, because it's also your responsibility to give them an opportunity to speak for themselves, right? In the case of the county commissioner, one opportunity was when he bonded out of jail. He had a nice, healthy crowd of reporters waiting for him, and that could have been a very good opportunity for him to come out and say something. I mean, as a public official, as the then former county commissioner, I think he owed the public a response. Absolutely. But I mean, and he's got a lot of outlets waiting there to pick that up. But instead, he chose to make no comment, refer us to his attorney, and just sped off in a car. And so, Daniel Salinas, the mayor-elect in Sunland Park, he has spoken to media before, and he says that he will fight the conditions of his release, which prohibit him from going to City Hall and to speak with other city officials. So, I mean, there's two different examples, but yeah, no, it is difficult. But again, we have to try. And
you mentioned all of this process, and Fred, I mean, is the you're the executive producer for a lot of the programming that takes place here, much of the programming that takes place here at KRWG. Are we now talking then about an emerging storyline on our community that questions truth in government and what our elected officials are telling us?
Oh, I think so, and I think for a very long time that has been the case, is to really inform folks about what is going on, not only in local government, but in state government and at the federal level. This whole discussion up until this point could leave folks watching with a feeling, a really negative feeling. But I think there is some hope in this.
Absolutely.
Because sharing this kind of information, trying to get to these important issues and that larger issue of trust in government, I think has the potential, anyway, to force change. And particularly in the situation that we're in now with social media, it is remarkable that when there is a coordinated effort in social media, and we've just seen this in the last few weeks with the campaign for the invisible children in Uganda, the tens of millions of people not only going online but donating to a cause and getting to this very issue in that particular case of speaking directly to policymakers about an urgent issue. That is, I think, the hope of all of us as journalists, is to be able to give people that information. We don't call for folks to work for change. We give them the information. They decide what to do with that information. But that is the potential.
One of the most interesting critiques on media as of late, and I think it's an important one to have in this roundtable, since we're talking to, the folks that are responsible for bringing the news stories here at KRWG and a lot of our programming. One of the biggest critiques has been that for media overall is that it's becoming smaller. The amount of media out there in terms of big investigative reporting, this kind of stuff, in terms of newspapers having that kind of budget, in terms of media sources for news on a national scale. You see a diminishing amount of folks tuning into the national news at night with Brian Williams or what have you, and any of these other big time anchors. But now there's the emergence, like you mentioned, Fred, of social media. Are we now redefining what the role of media should be? Is it still the same traditional role? Because obviously a lot of these stories have been suspect in our community for a while, but only now beginning to come to light, whereas maybe some people would even say before, if you had more investigative reporting budgets or what have you, this could have come to light earlier. I mean, your thoughts on that, because it's a big question for media and reporting in today's day and age.
Yeah, no, certainly. Well, all kinds of media outlets have been downsizing for the past 4 or 5 years, so that has definitely hurt the amount of reporting that's able to be done, and the reach of it and the scope of it. I know myself as a reporter, I have more demands placed on me in terms of the amount of work I do and the outlets on which I share that work. It's not like I'm not limited now just to doing radio. I also have to think about the web, and I also have to think about multimedia elements to add to a story. So not only are we shrinking in size, but the responsibilities that we have are increasing. And I think it's both a good thing and a bad thing, in that we might be able to reach more of an audience. Maybe our size is shrinking, but by using social media, by using the internet, we can reach a wider audience. But at the same time, doing all the extra work cuts down on the time that you're out reporting in the communities and on the streets.
Fred, your thoughts on the changing roles of media? I mean, you're in a position here at KRWG where you're not only contributing to the content with newsmakers and the programming here, but in a position where you also have to make decisions about what kind of resources should be dedicated to the nature of what kind of programming and stories and the like. It's a changing atmosphere out there when it comes to media, but there's obviously still a very big role when it comes to, stories like what we're talking about, the mayoral situation in Sunland Park, the county commissioner in El Paso. your outlook on our role?
It is a changing media, but there's one thing that never changes, and that is the need for real journalism. And I emphasize that word, need.
Yeah.
In this country, and this is a societal problem, this is not just a problem with the media, to use that term.
Yeah.
We don't view it as a societal need. It's a want, it's a benefit, perhaps, to some people, but the truth is, it's a need.
Yeah.
And what needs to get out there is that is what our major democracies, Great Britain, Germany, Japan, look at this issue as a need. So they fully fund public media. They don't have a situation where they have our situation in this country, where we have the need for donations, for a patchwork of grants and things, and then a federal funding as just a small, well, it's a significant part, but part of this mix. They have in all those countries the full funding of public media, because it's understood that in-depth journalism is a need. You can't have a democracy if it's not an informed democracy.
And I might add that that this project, the Fronteras network, was funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting because of this of the recognition of this need.
Yeah.
And so this network, I mean, has not the fact that it exists is specifically to focus on the Southwest, on the border region, and cover the issues that are important to this region. And it didn't exist before this.
With all of us sharing, all the affiliates sharing resources.
Right. So we've got reporters all along the border, from San Antonio to San Diego, and that's all we. And it feels like almost yes, I do feel like I have a lot more to do, but it feels like such a privilege to be able to just focus on this part of the country. It's fascinating.
It's like reconceptualizing our role in a way that highlights a lot of our assets and kind of retools them in a way where we give greater voice to stories that may otherwise not come out. And I think you bring up a great example. And so we talk about the role in media, but let's also talk about the role of individual responsibility amongst the members in the community that we're covering. The last thing that comes to mind is a very big news article that ran in the El Paso Times with the Gandaras back to back, and a headline along the lines, and now I'm paraphrasing, comparing the family to the Kennedys in El Paso in a very flattering way to that family before any of the scandals with both Gandaras, the senior when he was mayor of Socorro, and now junior with the sitting county commissioner. Before this, kind of saying, oh, these are our Kennedys. These are the people we should look up to. Yet, in some of my own experiences in radio and on TV, there was always underlining kind of questions about what they did in their business dealings and stories that were told. Is there a higher premium now on personal responsibility of the individuals in the community to talk to media folks like yourself, Monica, reporting, or Fred on newsmakers being willing to come forward and share some of this stuff? Is there more premium on that? Is it more difficult for people to come forward now?
Well, I mean, absolutely. Otherwise, because the community members that know and interact with the people in question are the ones who can best tell that story. It's our job to go out there and fetch that story. But if no one is willing to come and speak out and talk about it, then nothing gets done. But I think the fact that you were talking about the good versus the bad of talking about all the corruption scandals is that I think, yes, people, because we're talking about it so much, people get sick about it, and they want it is a good motivation for change. And I think more people, I would hope that more people would be willing to discuss it openly and say, you know what, enough, this isn't doing anybody any good, and let's start talking about it. Let's get involved. Let's vote. Let's find candidates that we can trust and that will serve the community versus trying to serve themselves.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll be the result. I mean, this is the other issue that we haven't talked about is, you know, when you have this kind of thing, the constant scandals and the constant difficulties, the image in general of running for office, and does this discourage people from running for office? I know you've interviewed folks who say, hey, this is a little scary.
Yeah,
you know?
And because of that, it creates this cycle that kind of is self-feeding. You know, if the information is not coming out from at the personal responsibility level in our community, it makes our positions in the media a little more difficult to bring that story into the community, and then things like this happen and it dissuades people from running for office, and then we have a situation where we're faced with a diminishing participation politically and socially in terms of social action in our community, and it creates this kind of self-perpetuating situation. In your opinion, is there a counterbalance story to this kind of cloud that has been hanging in our community? I see personally in my own interviews the fact that there's some people coming forward that seem to be wanting to do great things. Do you see something similar?
Well, I would say that I think that there is a lot more talk, and given that this is a presidential election year, I think there are more people that are paying attention, at least to who the candidates are, at least trying to inform themselves more. And I think at the very least that people get involved civically and at least educate themselves on who's going to be representing them is a good sign. But it is something to keep an eye on to see whether what the voter turnout will be, because it might go one way or the other.
I think we're going to have to definitely do this again. There's a lot of talk that we have to do. I hope this is not the last time we have our Reporters Roundtable. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
For everybody here at Fronteras, thank you for joining us this evening, folks. We hope you get engaged in all of the issues going on in our community. Have a great evening. I'm Hector Lopez.